Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here again. Thank you very much, as always, for taking the time to tune in to this episode. And today I'm delighted to be joined by serial entrepreneur, franchise mentor and mental health advocate Bennett Maxwell, who's here to discuss his life and career journey that led him to help aspiring entrepreneurs build wealth through franchising while staying mentally resilient. Bennett had been involved in sales for most of his life, progressing from door to door to solar to cookies, and now spends a lot of his time selling and supporting franchises and franchisees to success. However, Bennett's journey has been far from smooth sailing and certainly wasn't what you'd call a straight line in terms of career and success trajectory. From dropping out of pre-med in his final year to experiencing health challenges while still enjoying success in sales, there has been some pivotal moments and points in his life that has helped shape him as a person and the services and supports that he provides to clients. Lots and lots to unpack there. Bennett, thank you very, very much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, Gary, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. So I mentioned briefly there in the bio that the journey hasn't always been smooth sailing. When we had the opportunity to chat prior to recording, you had shared a lot about your journey in terms of the sales and such, but some of the impacts that it had on your physical and mental health at the time. So really interested for the viewers and listeners to provide a bit of an overview of your journey that got you to this point today.
I'm always kind of figuring it out on the way, I guess. And because of that, when I got into door to door, immediately I started making good money. I made $250,000 like the first full summer I did that. And I'm like, okay, I don't need medicine anymore. I don't need to study that because I can make the same in a smaller amount. And I just started hyper focusing on money because like, this is cool. Not even that I was spending it. I was just saving it and kind of hoarding it. And I was after the wrong goal. The goal I thought I was after was $1 million. So sales led me into solar. And then I ended up exiting that and I had that $1 million net worth. And, for whatever reason, that just always was my goal, thinking that all my problems would go away. But as soon as I got it, it was like, yeah, it felt amazing, but nothing really changed in life. So in realizing that, I realized I wasn't even on the right path. Because I hit that millionaire status, but I was 310 pounds and I didn't have a great relationship with my wife anymore. I wasn't spending a ton of time with my kids. And so that kind of reset me on like, okay, it's not about the money, then I guess what it is about. And I'm still along that journey. But I feel like every time I start a new venture, I like have the goal. So like that first one was solar. I didn't really do a mission statement. It was just like, I just want money. Got the money. And then I realized, okay, the money was nice, but I want money and to be happy along the way. So then came the cookie company and I did do a mission statement. I was like, okay, I want the money and I want joy and fulfillment, but I still worked myself to death, So then I did that. And then now I'm on the third company and I'm like, okay, now yes, the money's great. The joy and fulfillment's great, but now I'm also wanting the time. And now I'm reducing it to like a 20, maybe 30-hour work week. And that's been really nice. But yeah, very bumpy journey because I still don't know where I'm headed.
Yeah. Well, do you know that it was really interested in terms of specifically the weight challenges that you had at that particular point in time. And what I'm going to lead to here is, was there a specific pivotal moment where it was, you need to do something here, or you're going to lose it all, or this is going to be really bad for you? Has weight been an issue for you in your life? Because you look great today.
Yeah. In high school, I'd play football and then I would lose 40 pounds to wrestle. So like I was really good at managing weight and getting like calorie tracking and all of that stuff. When I got into sales though, it was, I started calculating how much I was worth per second I was on the door basically, right? Like, so, and it was worth quite a bit. Like if I'm knocking doors, I'm worth a few grand an hour. So if I need to go to the bathroom and it takes me 15 minutes to drive to the gas station, and then I'm probably going to grab something to eat maybe or something, and 15 minutes back, that's costing me a few $100s. Or maybe I should have asked you permission to just say this before the podcast, or I'm going to go to my car and I'm going to pee in a water bottle. And
Yeah.
I did that for years, but it was that mentality of like, I'm not going to get off the doors. And then with that, I'm never going to spend time to go make a healthy meal. You know, it's like something quick, because if it's McDonald's is versus, sitting at McDonald's eating in the car versus like Chipotle sitting down, that's 30 minutes of time difference. And that cost me $200. And again, I was so focused on the money. So
Yeah.
one, it was realizing that. And then it was realizing, again, I'd sold the solar company, and I was like, what am I even doing this for? Right. And it's like to be with my kids and to be with my family.
Yeah.
And I finally realized I didn't have to have all this money to, money equals free time, which equals like vacation time, and then equals family time. It's like, oh, I could just be with my family right now. But being 29 years old and 310 pounds, 5'8", I'm short,
Yeah.
walking up the stairs and I can't even freaking breathe. And I'm like, yeah, this has to change. So
Yeah.
instead of telling myself I was just going to like, I'm going to kind of try to focus on it and also do business, I'm like, no, I'm going to focus on it 100%. I'm going to do something drastic. Like I do anytime I get into anything in the business, like, I'm just going to jump right in. I did a gastric sleeve surgery. So they cut your stomach and they sew it up at the same time. They make it 4 ounces.
Right.
4 ounces is very, very small. So it forces your body to become receptive again to and sensitive to insulin. And yeah, it just like no carbs for 6 months. You could only sip water for the first few days. Like it really changes your entire lifestyle.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible to go to that length. And I wonder, just to go back to the money, I was a consultant for I guess technically you could say I still am, so for 15, 16 years. So then I trained myself to think exactly as you thought, to say, this is how much my time is worth based on an hourly rate. So, the equivalent would be the time at the door and the opportunity to make the sale and such. And then it really was, in a way, I didn't ever feel it was super restricting. For me personally, it was more of a, okay, I could drive exactly like your example. I could drive to that place and pick that thing up and then drive back, and that's going to cost me $200 in my head in this, phantom calculation that I've just made, or I could get it delivered for $60. And I don't like the $60 number, but I much prefer 60 to 200. So then it was quite freeing for me in a sense to say that is what this organization has said I am worth today in terms of what they're willing to pay me per hour. And it was very, very transactional in that respect. But what I was going to ask you was, when you achieved so much success, and I'm talking about financial success here, is that in some way skewed your opinion or philosophy in and around money to a point that it was, I don't know, disruptive, confusing, less than satisfying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the more stubborn you are, it's kind of like you could go read books and everybody says money is not satisfying and there's the studies and whatever, or you can have to experience it because you're hard headed, you're like, but I'm different,
Yeah.
So I was different until I wasn't anymore. But like maybe I'm interpreting the question incorrectly, but is it also part of it? Like, does it take money to realize that you don't need money? Right. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it was, but it's not necessarily money. It's whatever arbitrary material goal that you set.
Yeah.
The quicker that you're able to achieve goal after goal after goal after goal, which I was very fortunate to do, but whatever sales goal, whatever cut nice goal, whatever LDS Mormon mission goal, like I was just really good at achieving my goals. And each time it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And then you start seeing the pattern. You're like, oh, this goes on forever.
Yeah.
Like there is no stop to this. Like if I've achieved, my top 5 goals that I ever had, within a few years, then it's like, crap, life's kind of depressing. If I could achieve everything I want and I don't feel ecstatic all of the time, then crap, I had bad expectations. So,
Yeah.
I guess in my journey, that's kind of how it went. And I got fortunate again. It could be with money. It could be with whatever. If it's a material goal, it's not going to give you what you want because you don't want anything material, right? You want an emotional state.
Yeah.
So if your goal is in an emotional state, that material goal is never going to could help you achieve it, but it's never going to achieve it for you.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know that. I wasn't taught any of that.
Mm.
It was more delayed gratification. I think I was really good at that, which was really good at business, like especially in Mormonism. It's like, if you keep all of the Mormon church's commandments, you know, and pay your tithing and donate your time and energy and money, then you'll be blessed.
Yeah.
And, you know, but if you're not blessed, then, you know, that's just I guess a trial of the faith, and you kind of have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I play football with a fellow who managed to retire very, very young in life. You know, had a startup. I actually don't know what his business was, something in IT technology, something like that. And I was just chatting with him recently, and I said, we were both injured, actually sitting on the side, and I said, you know, what do you do with your time now? And he said, you know what, that's a great question. You know, my day is typically a little bit of this and a little bit of that, a little bit of that, you know, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what I want to do. He's been retired for like 17 years, something like that, like a chunk of time. And I said, you know, you didn't think of going back in and having that bug of, I did this successfully one time, I wonder if I could 10x it the second time or create more impact, or, you know, whatever the parameters would be. And he says, no, and the industry's moved on so much, it would just be irrelevant. Now, it would take a long time to get back to that. And I said, okay, so what do you love to do? And he said, that's a great question. You know, and every time I asked him a question, he was like, that's a great question. I said, I know I kind of do this for a living, but you know, I was genuinely interested. And I don't really think I got to the bottom of it. I mean, it's a 10-minute conversation sitting on the sidelines,
Right.
Bennett, you know, but it was one of those ones where I'm inspired to actually go back and chat with him again to say, hey, listen, let's grab a couple of beers and just walk and talk through this. If there's anything I can do to help you, because in a sort of semi-connected way, I think that's possibly the inspiration behind the question. Now that I think about it, is if money is literally not a factor anymore, you could go for dinner, you could do your hobbies, you can treat your friends, you can make yourself and your family secure and stable, and that's not a thing. Who are you? And what do you want to do? And why do you want to do that? And why is it important? And what are you going to do about that? And I know that a bunch of people listening to this would be like, I would love to know the answer to that question. Well, and I would too, you know, and I just wonder about that relationship with finances and whether
I don't think it makes a difference. If you're worth $1 million on paper or worth 10 million on paper,
yeah,
it's on paper, that right? Like, I own real estate properties. The realization for me it was no matter how much money is there, like, yeah, I've always had enough money for food and stuff, but there's always been like, but I need more. It's not that I want more, I need more. And seeing through that, and then also seeing through, everything that I've always needed, I've always had, right? Because it's like, oh, it's easy for you to say that if you have money, but it's like, okay, even before I had money, I could go back and say, but have I always had what I needed? Yeah. Always, right? Like I've always had exactly what I needed when I needed it. And if I didn't need it, I mean, if I didn't have it, obviously I didn't need it for me to be who I am today, right? So a lot of it, I do think you get caught up. You're like, yeah, I need to make all the money. I need to see it. I need to feel the safety there. And what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $10 million. There is no safety from that, because the safety is typically from, like, it's deep rooted insecurities. It's not, I just need to pay my mortgage. It's like that's not what really matters at all.
Yeah. So earlier on, I mentioned the pivotal moment, and you briefly talked about the inability to walk upstairs without, you know, feeling like you're going to pass out or have a medical episode and such. But, you know, your newfound, what you're doing today is in the franchise world, but there's also a mental resilience and support element to that. Was there a moment that you experienced in your career thus far, or moments where you had that pivotal moment where you thought, this is garbage, this is not serving me or anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, quite a few of them. The biggest one was last April, so about 1.5 years ago. I was to the point I couldn't sleep. So to, I guess, put it in perspective, I purchased a cookie company in 2021, franchised it in 2022, and then 2 years later, so in 2024, We've opened up 100 locations, 20 food trucks, sold 400 franchises. And we're also being sued by $1 billion company in a national lawsuit. Like all of this is happening. And I went from 0 to 200 employees, because I also opened up 15 corporate stores, trying to do it all at once, vertically integrating. I'm owning the dough manufacturer that makes the dough centrally in Utah, ships them nationwide, and the trucks to go ship them. Just trying to do it all, because if I could just control everything, right, then I'll be happy. If I could just control every damn thing around me. Then I realized like, this is never going to stop, because I told myself, when I'm a millionaire, when I get my first property, when I make my first $250,000, when I sell my first franchise, when I raise the first $100,000, when we raise the first $1 million, when we open the first 50 stores, it's just like, again, if you spread all this out over 10 years, maybe it's harder to see the patterns, because it was all happening. I'm just like, none of this is giving me the security. It's actually giving me more insecurities, because it's just more to control. So I got it all out of fear, and now I'm going to guard it out of fear of loss. And it's just a terrible way to live. So April of last year, I'm like, I'm going to focus 100% of my time, energy, and effort, because I'm really good at meeting my goals, right? My goal is to figure out why my mind perceives so many things as goals. So many things as problems. Right. Because the problem is a perception. So it's like, do I want to solve every external problem indefinitely? Or do I just want to solve the one problem? And I'm like, I'm just not going to have problems anymore. Is that possible? It is. Not at all times, but I don't know. The more you focus on it, I think it's definitely more and more possible to be in those states of mind, that you're not worried about the external control, and you have the peace of mind just sitting quietly and breathing. I don't know, kind of a different, very different goal, I guess, of what I'm after now versus the upbringing, I guess. Oh, and I did want to loop back on something. I was talking about the delayed gratification. I think that was ingrained because of religion. And either way, it's like, do the commandments or don't. Either way, everything, the reward's in heaven, right? Like the reward is not in this life. Don't expect a reward in this life. Just put in the work now so you could harvest later, but you're going to harvest in the next life. And then I just hyper drove on that a little bit. And then I didn't ever stop, I guess, to enjoy now. And I think a lot of people are also in the like delayed gratification. Now, obviously there's a balance, but the A-type personality, a lot of times we delay way too much gratification when we don't need to.
Yeah. Would you say you're enjoying your health and your wealth today?
Yes, absolutely. Working 20, 25 hours a week, what else do you do? I mean, I'll tell you, I woke up, I got onto my red light, I listened to a 𝘄𝘁𝗁𝗵 meditation for 30 minutes, go warm up my sauna, do some stretching and yoga till it's heated, go in there for 45 minutes, and then, come into work at 10 o'clock, and then I'll probably go to jujitsu later tonight. So it's like I could spend a lot of time just on myself because I have the time, and then I'm spending it more in my body. The more you are in your body, the less you are in your mind. And my goal right now is trying to gain freedom from constant thought.
Yeah. So back to your challenges a year past April, you're not sleeping. Do you seek some help? Do you have a conversation with a loved one?
Oh, I was doing everything. I mean, I was already seeing a therapist. I started seeing a therapist when I sold my solar company in summer of 2020. Because again, it's like, wait, why did I just achieve everything I've ever wanted to achieve, and then I don't feel like I thought I was going to feel? The big thing for me was, I'm like, we use shortcuts in everything in our lives, right? Like the Riverside is a shortcut so I can have this conversation with you. And we're totally fine using a shortcut so we could facilitate a conversation. But when it comes to a shortcut with our brains and admitting that there's something wrong with our brain and putting a substance in there, a lot of times there's a block. For me, there's a block. I'm like, I'm going to use a shortcut to get to work, driving my car, but a shortcut to be happy, nope. So that was the decision. First was just like, I'm going to hyper focus on just this. And part of that, because I had a fear of anxiety medication. I'm like, I don't want to be a person that's on anxiety medication for whatever reason, because I don't know, it's drugs and then addiction and all of the garbage that I grew up with hearing,
Yeah.
So I kind of had to get past that. And I'm like, no, if I need something to calm down my state, because like what I was identifying is my nervous system is out of whack. I could just lay there in the middle of the day, nothing's happening, but my heart rate's elevated, my cortisol's up, blood pressure's up, like my nervous system is out of whack, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, going from not just seeing a therapist, but also a psychiatrist, and I got prescribed something called 𝘀𝗵𝘀𝗁, which a lot of times it's for seizures. So it just like calms your nervous system down a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. I did that for about a year, and then that's all and until I didn't need it anymore,
Yeah.
But I don't think I could be to where I'm at right now unless I admitted that I needed it, that I accepted it. And I also accepted like, I'm just going to need it for when I need it and not do like the doomsday of like, if I take it once, I'm going to do this forever. Like, anyways. Yeah. So making the decision and going all in on it. Same thing just with investing. Anything that I see on YouTube or on Facebook ads, like this is a pulsetto ring. I probably bought this a year and a half ago, probably in that, in my darkest hour. You put it around your neck, and on either side right here is where the majority of the endings of the vagus nerve is.
Yeah.
And that's in charge of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is like the rest, relaxation. So yeah. I got into all of that. I have the sauna in my garage. I got a cold plunge in my garage. Because again, I'm like, who cares if I'm raising money for dirty dough and we're getting, multi-million-dollar valuations really quick. Like if I can't sleep, none of it matters. So hyper focus on that. And when I did, it's funny, like the company never really needed me anyway. I'm much more effective now than I was a year and a half ago, even though I was working 80 hours and stressing for 100. And now I'm working for 20 and maybe stressing for an extra hour or two, but I'm just like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah. And what a gift to be able to be aware of these situations that occur in of the moment, to then acknowledge actually what's happening, whether it's immediate or with some supplemental professional help or services, and then do something about it. That's what sets people like you, achievers like you, apart from other people. A lot of other people certainly might have the first and will dabble in the second and might just not make their way to the third to get over that line, to be able to then say, this has all been a blessing. This has all been information and data that I've needed to be able to take action on it, and I'm going to take action on it. No one does that. Well, I say that very, very generally. Not everyone does that.
I would say, yeah. And I've been thinking about this a little bit, but kind of on the flip side, like most people don't do that with most things, but do most people do it with at least one thing of their life? And they're just focusing on the wrong thing. Again, I haven't really thought this through, but for whatever reason, it's kind of like, again, I am good at am I good at sales, or am I just good at sales because I focused on sales? Is somebody that's a good, if somebody, went through med school and is a doctor, if they applied that same knowledge and not knowledge, but desire to learn, I guess, to, hey, I want to control my mind and have peace at all times, you're going to achieve it. Either way, you're going to achieve what you set your mind to do. Generally, like that doctor is going to become a doctor. And if he did become a doctor, if he's as thirsty to have peace of mind than he was to be a doctor, you can achieve it. It's just most people aren't even after that.
So I recently met a woman and we had a conversation about her life. Basically, how do you do? What do you do? And she says, I'm actually a stay-at-home mum, have been for the whole time, and my youngest kid is going to university and I don't know what I'm going to do next. I say, what do you like to do? I have no idea. What do you love to do? I have no idea. If I had more time to converse with her, I would have been saying, well, what has your life looked like at the various phases or seasons of the kids' lives? Because it goes from a very, very dependent circumstance and situation to less dependence and more influence and, and mentoring and nurturing, or, whatever words you want to use there. And it's that opportunity to start to kind of say, like, who are you? The doctor example is a perfect example. And I was recently watching the TV show The Bear, and it's about the restaurateur, and he says, I'm going if anybody's watching this and you haven't finished the last season, switch off now or fast forward. But he says, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to go do something else. And everyone's like, why? You're so good at it. And he says, I don't even know who I am. This is all I have ever done. And I start to see that, and you know, in social media profiles of people that I follow and such, where they're at that spot where they're saying, I don't know if this is actually it. It was it, and it has been it, and it has served me in a way that has got me to this particular point in time. But I don't know if that's actually what I'm doing. So that really lends itself to the point of what you're saying is, you know, just because you went after something, just because you achieved success in that, is that who you are? Is that what you are? And is that all you can ever be? I think the short answer, certainly for someone with your drive and determination and energy, the answer would be no. But maybe for other people, the answer might be yes. And by the way, I'm okay with that. There's nothing else that I need to do. I've always wanted to be a doctor. My family are all doctors, and we are serving the medical community and the community at large. And it's just a thing that, certainly something to ponder as we move forward.
Yeah, I think most of us don't ever ask ourselves that question. Yeah. Even me, like growing up in a religion, like, really, who am I? What am I? Type, because we're just so busy on everything external. It's always just like more distractions, more extractions, more achievements. But you go through your entire life and you're like, wait, but who am I? And then you ask people, you know, if you're thinking, okay, how would I answer who am I? Typically, you're going to list off experiences. Can you be an experience? You can't be an experience. Or you list, you know, your body and you're like, I was born here. And you're like, well, can you be in a previous place? Like, no, that's not who you are. And then you start listing off memories and you're like, well, a memory is also just an accumulation. All of that is stuff that you've just found since you've been on this planet. But who are you? Those are just things that you've accumulated. And that's a tough question, you know, but there's a lot of, I guess, wisdom in asking yourself and then having this silence to be able to hear the answer rather than I just need to go do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then you're like, okay, the next thing will never be enough. So can I look at life now and just have it be enough completely as it is without wanting it to change at all?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. I was just thinking there, I do a daily video on social media, just self-development topic. And what I've been doing with my undergraduate class at the university is saying, watch all 5 of the videos from last week, pick one, tell me why you picked it, tell me what resonated with you, and tell me what you're going to do, tell me what you learned and what you're going to do about it. And some of the stuff coming from these undergrads, you know, Bennett, is absolutely exceptional because they're kind of wrestling with exactly what you just said there, you know, do, achieve, graduate, get the internship, get the opportunity as we're going forward. And I'm saying, look, just take 90 seconds, watch this video, tell me what it meant to you. And to see these, and I say, by the way, the video you do back to me, 90 seconds or less. I don't want to consume any more than that. I've got a lot of students here. But just to see them ruminating on that literally live as they're recording, to say, actually, now that I say that out loud, as I hear myself saying the words, I don't actually know if that's a thing that's going to serve me. And I don't actually know if that, why I keep doing that the way that I do it, or why I don't explain myself thoroughly when I'm speaking with my parents or my community or my colleagues or whomever it is. And it's just, if we can plant that seed just now to say, it's an investment of time, it's an investment of effort to be able to do it. You can't just sit and say, right, okay, I have 3 minutes between now and the next meeting. I'm just going to ruminate. I'm just going to do a bit of meditation. I'm just going to give myself exactly what I need to fuel myself for the next 6 hours of hardcore work. You know, so it's an investment of time, but you have to believe you're worth it. You have to believe that there's going to be benefit from that. And you have to know and understand, kind of back to the straight line analogy we've been using today, that it's not going to be a straight line. You know, straight lines were drawn by human beings. It's going to be a squiggle of some description with some back checks and some side steps and such like that. So the ability to be able to hopefully inspire some of the future generations to say, this is actually genuinely, literally the best investment that you can make. It's not going to be in other things and factors that will be catalysts or facilitators to get to where you think you want to get to. But if you're not right, if you're not present, if you're not enjoying yourself, if you don't feel supported, if the voices in your head are so distracting and debilitating from any sense or semblance of enjoyment, what are you doing?
I mean, could we boil down life to be like, is there anything more important than your ability to feel good with yourself? Right.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I was talking about something, somebody was kind of making fun of me, teasing me that I'm getting more into meditation. And I'm like, yeah, like, it's good to be comfortable with yourself at any time. And they said something like, being alone with yourself sounds boring. I'm like, but you're the only person that you will always be with,
Exactly.
that is the only constant. So can you be comfortable with that?
The overriding word for me with this typically is intention, and if you have intention to go after your goals, to be, so focused, to chase the next thing and chase the next thing and it's genuinely thought out and it's intentional and you've encompassed the parameters you need to encompass to be able to do the best job that you can do in that moment. Absolutely fabulous. Good for you for doing that, spending the time up front and then living in to that. One of the challenges, I think, is when intention becomes either an afterthought or it's not even considered at some point, and it becomes a habit and some sort of this is just what I've committed to doing, so I'm going to commit to doing it. But why are you doing it? Because I committed to doing it. Yes, I heard you the first time, but tell me why. Tell me why. And without that intention to say, this is what I'm going to try and fashion my experience to be. And I might not hit it, but this is what my intention is. This is what I'm looking to try and experience from this. And it's that experience that just seems to be, I don't even know if it's forgotten, because if it's forgotten, then it would have been there at some point for you to forget it. I don't even know if it's ever been built in. It's absolutely fascinating. So in terms of the current work you're doing now, you got experience on the franchising side, with the cookie company, and now you're in a situation where you are supporting, as I'd mentioned earlier, franchisees and franchisees to be able to know and understand what the industry is, what it looks like, what the opportunities look like for you, but you're also layering in a level of support that maybe a typical business transaction wouldn't layer in terms of the ability to say, this is what your experience might be and this is what you might have to look out for. Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, franchising in general, it's cool because, you're buying into an existing model, but there's 4,000 models out there that you could buy in from, and each one is typically 200 pages of franchise disclosure documents and legalese. And so most people hear about a franchise from a friend or something, they'll look at 1, 2, maybe 5 of the 4,000, and then they jump into it, which is really exactly how I got into franchising myself. I looked at one company and I bought it, jumped into it, feet first, but then it's okay. Well, of the 4,000, if you spend a little bit more time, can you find the ones that have been around for a decade and that have a perfect track record? Do those exist? Absolutely, they do. Can you find the ones that they disclose how much profit every single person in their entire system made? Yes, you can. So that's the idea behind the brokerage that I started, Franchise KI. Franchise Key, spelt Franchise KI, sorry. It's the KI is knowledge and intelligence. So try to educate people on what franchising is a little bit more, but you have to apply it right through intelligence. And if done correctly, there's a lot of freedom in it because you're buying, again, franchising is systems and processes if you buy the right one. So you buy one, typically you're coming in with the expectation, I'm a business owner, all the freedom. And then you get your teeth kicked in. You're like, this sucks. I'm working longer hours and I'm getting paid the least amount because I have to pay everybody else first. But if you could replicate yourself in that system, because now everything is built out and you just pull yourself out, put a manager in, go build out your second store or location, or whatever, under the same, pull in some employees, and you go do that 2, 3, 4, 5 times, then you could really build an empire of generational wealth. And, a lot of these franchises cost, I don't know, $400,000 or $500,000 to get into, and you get loans and they'll make you, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 every single year per location. So that's the kind of idea behind that, which I don't know. I like business. I like all of that. There's definitely just getting into business will not reduce your anxiety and stress. So I guess I'm a little counter that you have to come in, you have to get more anxiety, more stress, go down to then be free to be able to break out. But anyways, it's fun for me to focus on that and not focus on the operational sides and building the company.
Yeah.
And making the cookies and shipping them out and doing the grand openings, but just focusing on the sales and the marketing side and just finding those top companies and then driving traffic to them.
Yeah, and then when you're dealing directly with the franchisees as well, you're selling, say for example, I'll just say what brand will I say? Well, you mentioned Riverside.
Yeah,
There.
so I mean,
Riverside.
I'll just give you the one that we're doing that I partnered with first. Glow tanning. It's like red light therapy, spray tans, UV tannings.
Yeah.
I do a lot of video interviews with their franchisees, with their corporate team members, with the founder, because I want a prospective franchisee not to hear from me. I'm a salesperson that's presenting the opportunity, and you don't know me, I could be biased. Hear from the people that you're going to actually report to. Like when you're actually bought into the franchisee and the marketing person supporting you, hear from them what the expectations are. So a lot more video education, I guess, is set up, and then we drive ads to that. Then they go through their auto booking links. And I have a team of salespeople, so I don't have to take any calls anymore, but they're just kind of going through that process. And like for glow tanning, in the last 6 months, we've collected $2.3 million for them in franchise fees. So they had 100 locations. We've sold another 90 something. Again, they had like a perfect business model ready to explode. And then we just came on as that little engine to help them.
Yeah. And how does that differ in terms of the types and styles of support that someone could expect to receive? You've had some great times and some tough times, depending on what the angle is that you're looking at it in terms of your business experience. Do you have a long-term relationship as you move forward with the various parties that are involved, or is it quite transactional where you set them up for success in the beginning and say you have what you need?
I've been, I guess, experimenting with both. A lot of people want to do hey, can you help me do, go sell a lot of franchise, but also set up the whole system like I done with Dirty Dough. And it's interesting and fun, but it's been a year and 1 day since I sold the company, since I sold Dirty Dough. So I'm like, I need a little bit more time. I like just the sales side, just identifying the brand. It's the sexy, the exciting side, right? But the cool thing is, like, I don't have to worry about the back end because I'm only picking a brand that has 100 locations, that's been around for 15 years, that's never closed a location, and their average store is making $300,000 according to their disclosures in net profit. Like, that's a really good system to sell. But I think I'll do it again. I mean, franchising is really cool. I really like the model and the ability to really scale. Yeah, it sounds, it's one of these things. The more I learn about different types and styles of businesses out there, or the more I pay attention, I should say, to different types and styles of businesses out there, it's just absolutely fascinating. The plethora of businesses that are out there. If someone had said to me 6 months ago, you're going to have a great conversation with someone who has a franchise brokerage, I would be like, what do you mean? Like, what does that even mean? But when you layer in the story and you layer in the support and layer in the need for an organization like that to say, look, we've done some of the diligence for you. This is the type of style of organizations we work with. This is what you can expect to get when you work with us. It makes a lot of sense, and it takes a lot of guesswork out and probably a lot of homework for the folks that just want to have the business and stuff. Again, I mean, it's just, you don't know what you don't know, and then you just make mistakes. And I'm still new to it, but I'm 100 stores open and of making mistakes. I just consolidated that to a few years. So trying to, I guess that's what franchising comes down to, is like you're learning from other people's mistakes, whether you're going through a broker and choosing one or just buying into the system. Yeah, and that's essentially life in general, isn't it? You're learning from your own and others' experiences and mistakes and ideas and such like that as we move forward. So what I like to do, as you know, this is called The Best You, and the purpose behind that is to get the opportunity to ask each guest what regular practice they employ to give them the best opportunity to be themselves. You've mentioned a few things about your routine, even just today, and your overall routines, but is there one particular regular practice where you say, non-negotiable, this has to happen in order for me to be at my optimum? I go through so many different things, and I'll go through like phases. I'll use one more than anything. But I guess I'm going to broaden it out and say physical movement. Like
Right.
if I'm not feeling good, if I'm feeling low energy, if I go out on a walk, I feel better, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And being more in tune with that, I guess, and just knowing like, okay, I'm sluggish. I'm going to go outside. I'm tired. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to move. I'm going to stretch. When you move your body, your blood obviously is flowing. That carries all the nutrients up to your brain, and then you can think better.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. It's a thing I don't do often enough in terms of literally going outside. I do a lot of movement during the day, but when I get outside, most of the time I'm like, why don't I do this even
Yeah.
more? Even in the colder climate, which I'm in here in Calgary, it gets very cold in the winter. It's still just great to be literally outside. The sun is still shining regardless of the temperature, and you get that opportunity just to breathe and move differently, and reduce the distractions and be a little bit more present as well. I do love that. I do love that. Bennett, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, BennettMaxwell.com. So just my first and last name. That'll have links to all the franchising stuff. I have a podcast called Deeper Than Dough. It's the emotional side of the entrepreneur's journey, as well as all my social medias.
I love it. Perfect. Bennett, I was looking forward to this one. I am delighted to get the opportunity to talk to you, and thank you very, very much for coming on to the show.
Thanks, Gary. I had a great time. Appreciate it.